Well, I'm about to throw all the switches, so
Switch.
yeah.
I think we're live.
Let me just pop in.
No. When the instance says we're live, it's not. I have everything set up in stages.
Oh, I see.
So, but now we're actually
We are live.
So that conversation.
We are now active.
Yeah, no, we're live now.
So let me just bring up that window.
You're all getting a shot of my long dirty mirror.
Yep. I just need to drop the drop today's link. What survives the morning into the Blue Sky post.
We're gonna put the pipe somewhere else.
Does the chat in here go to the Substack chat, or do I have to switch?
No, so you'll have to just watch that independently. All right, so now we're live on Blue Sky. And we have people, hopefully. Well, anyway. Now let me bring up my notes. So today's article digest was really sort of problematic. Trump basically went out in front of and by the way, hi, I'm Wendy The Druid. We have Sturge, we have Kira, who is known by other people as Kirsten and Sarah and Onyx and Miranda, per the norm. But yeah, I mean, so like my opening thought for the day was fuckhead orange shit stain stood out in front of the Lincoln Memorial and racked up calling a reporter a baby, and then pulled his mouth away from the microphone and said something else that, if I read lips correctly, was something even more profane about the reporter's comments about cleaning up the National Mall or whatever. And according to Trump, they dredged out like 15 tons of garbage out of the reflecting pool that, according to him, had been there for 70 years. I'm sorry, I don't fucking get it. But
I'm surprised he didn't say it all went in the reflecting pool during the Obama or Biden administrations.
Well, here's the thing, though. So, if he's trying to make that water, super clear and everything else, does that mean people are going to start swimming in it?
I would.
I mean, I've been to D.C. My sister lives in Rockville, so, I've seen people try to swim in the reflecting pool before. The National Park Service doesn't like you very much if you do that, and they arrest you for it. But, Rachel Scott just asked a question, and he called her a baby. And I will say this, he mouths the word fucker. Yeah. And so...
Rich coming from him.
Yeah. I mean... And then he mouthed the word bitch. And that's the one that everyone sort of caught. But here's the thing. This comes on the precipice of yesterday. Donald Trump threatening to nuke Iran and kill an entire civilization again. Which... He's 79 years old. He can't talk straight. He mumbles his words all the time. He's clearly in dementia, and yet this is the person we trust to have access to the nuclear codes.
I don't think anybody trusts him with the nuclear code. No.
I mean, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we have this problem with Reagan?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wasn't Reagan in full-blown Alzheimer's his last year as president?
Mm-hmm.
And he had access to nuclear launching silos? That's pretty fucked up, right?
They probably gave him an Atari and said this was the nuclear codes and just let him play it.
I don't know. Kira and I are old enough to remember Reagan. I don't know about everybody else on the call, but
Well, I remember
43.
Reagan. Wow.
I remember Reagan when I was young.
what? Kira,
Why would I remember Reagan?
because you're a Gen Xer.
Yeah, at the very end of the Gen X period.
And I'm an
That's
older
true.
millennial and I still remember Reagan.
That's a fucking excuse.
What? That I don't remember him being president? I don't remember him being president. I know he's president. Doesn't remember anything.
Well, okay. The one positive note that came out was the German decision to put the dude who killed his gay roommate. They put him in life for prison. Put him in prison for life. Sorry.
Good.
He ritualistically killed his roommate.
May he have all the days he deserves in prison.
Well, I mean, European prison is not the jewel that American prison is.
The jewel.
Depending on which country you're in.
Yeah. You know, Italian and German prison is pretty, you know, like it's just reform school. It's just like reform school. It isn't like you're going to go to prison and then Sarah, why do you got to send messages like that while I'm trying to talk? What the hell? You know, but I basically like he got his roommate to kneel down in front of him, and then he ritualistically killed him. So the Germans have said, "Nope, you're never getting out of prison. You're never getting out of prison." So with that, we'll go right into the narrative for today. And so my Harry Hay quote, who is the founder of the Mattachine Society in 1950, said, "We are not a variation on the heterosexual theme. We are a distinct people. And if we do not know that about ourselves with the same certainty we know our own names, no law that is on the earth will protect any of us." And, you know, he said that in 1950, and not in a room of supportive people. Didn't even have legal cover at the time. And there was no single institution that was behind him when he said this. And he said it to avoid of people. I mean, really, that's the whole deal. That's all of it. And 76 years later, we're sitting here in Onyx's case, and my case, and Kira's case, and Miranda's case. We're sitting in trans bodies in 2026, watching legislators debate whether we exist. And I need you to understand that in Hay's case, back in 1950, he knew this was coming. Sorry, Sturge also. Forgive me for not including. But Hay knew this in 1950. He didn't know the specific details. He didn't know the bills. He didn't know the contempt, but he knew that eventually we were going to face this challenge. So, you know, the question becomes, when you hear you're not a variation, you're a distinct people, does that relieve you, or does that put pressure on you? Because from my perspective, I'll tell you what it feels like in a trans body from my perspective. It feels like someone finally said out loud the thing that, I knew, and before there were words for it. So what did you know before you had words for it? And so here's what I know. Then we'll go around the room. Trans people are not confused straight people. I've heard that argument so many countless number of times from so many people in my life. You're just confused. You don't know what you are. You're mentally ill. You're mentally unstable because you want to actively change your gender. And I'm so goddamn fucking tired of it. I'm so tired of hearing that argument. But what Hay is offering in that statement is something more than rebuttal. He's trying to give it an origin. Distinct people with our own history and our own gifts, our own ways of moving through the world. That's not a defensive claim. That is not, please stop being mean to us. That is, we were here. We've always been here. We've been here for thousands of years. We're not going to leave. And the only question is whether, they know it or not, and whether or not I have any fear about expressing myself or saying my name in public, which I don't. So when you hear you are not variation, you are a distinct person, how does that make you feel? Is it more pressure or is it relief? Sarah.
In a lot of ways, I'd say it's both.
Oh, that's astute. Why?
On the one hand, it's relief because, well, I guess it's both relief and more pressure for the same reason. Finally being seen as oneself. It creates pressure to, whether it's imagined or not, to be authentic and to be true to yourself. But on the other hand, it makes it so that you don't have to feel like you have to fit into somebody else's box.
Why should you have to fit into somebody else's box?
Well, you shouldn't, but that's kind of what society throws at us. That's why I was in the relationship I was in for 22 years.
I mean, that's a very real answer. Kira?
What's the question?
You are a distinct person. You're not a variation of something else. Does that give you pressure, or does that give you relief, or both, and why?
Kind of both. I appreciate being my own distinct person, being who I am. At the same time, that also when you don't conform with others around you, it usually makes you an easy target for various things.
I can agree with that. Miranda?
Yeah, like what Kira and Sarah have said so far, I think is spot on. Um, it is both, but like I try to focus more on the freeing aspect of it. Um, and yeah, I mean that's what I try to focus on is you know, if I'm going to be this different thing, then I'm going to do it how I want to. I'm going to fully lean into being who I am and not some caricature of what they expect a trans woman to be. Um, yeah, and it's, I mean, for the most part, like the the downside of it is that there are the extremists who are fully convinced we're confused or delusional or what have you, and they're not going to be convinced by um, any sort of nuance about like being the right type of trans person. Like they'll say that like they respect certain types of trans people, but they don't actually respect the pick-me's or anything like that. Um, I think that um, it's sometimes tricky with allies because they have good intentions and they want to understand more, um, but a lot of their questions are really based on um, cisgender heterosexual lived experience and um, expected gender roles, and you know it's like someone will um, you know ask my or like will ask about relationship dynamics between my wife and me, and they, even if they have good intentions, they'll come with the perspective of like, oh well, she used to be a man, so obviously she fulfills like the man duties and the man expectations in the relationship, and it's like there are zero men in the relationship. um, you can't make our queer relationship analogous to something it's not, some rules it doesn't follow, expectations it doesn't have.
No, I agree with that. Sturge.
I kind of so I like what Sarah and Kira started with, what they said basically, and I do feel like it's a combination of both. For me, I'm newly out as non-binary, so it took me a long time. I didn't come out until like right before the Trans Day of Visibility this year. Um, Binary, and a loving friend had actually, I had come out to her first, and she had offered some messages of support to me at the time because I was feeling more of the other side, more of the pressure to conform to what society expected of me. And I felt like it was much harder for me to come out as non-binary as it was to come out as gay at first, saying that I was a gay cis male. But when I did finally live up to my authentic self, it felt a lot more freeing. And I think at this point, not wanting to necessarily conform to what society is putting forward and telling me, putting all these messages in front of me saying you're wrong, you're not supposed to exist, all this stuff, I think it's made me even stronger against that now that I feel a lot more free. And by the way, the friend I'm talking about is Onyx Rose. She's the one who supported and elevated made me feel valid, really. And I will forever love you for that, Onyx Rose, I swear. your yeah.
Thank you. I love you too, sweetie.
And
She's
I
good
was thinking of
people.
coming down to Atlanta soon. I want to.
Yay! Come to Yay.
Yeah, I'm coming to the A. We'll figure it out, but yeah.
Well, see, now you need to help me get Brandon here to Atlanta so that we can find him.
Oh, Wendy's in Atlanta too. That's right. Oh my gosh, I'm coming down to see both of you.
Kira and I both are in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. So all the three of you. Oh, wow, that's so cool. All right. Anyway, that's my answer. Oh, one more thing about what Miranda said, because I really like what Miranda said too. There was one aspect of Miranda's answer that reminded me of something. So she had said that they asked her and her wife, like, these cis people ask questions of their relationship, thinking like, you know, well, I think it was something you said like they're like one of like your wife used to be presenting as male or something, and who would be the man in the relationship? And I'm like, well, when I was out as gay, they would ask me those questions of me and my partner. I'm like, well, we're both men. There's no woman in this relationship. I don't know what you're talking about. But then as I started to think about it more, I was like, gender in my situation, since I'm non-binary, is less of a priority to like kind of, you know, focus on. So I was, you know, I mean, when I hear those questions, I just kind of laugh it off. But at the same time, I would kind of let it get to me. I would think about it. So, I mean, there's kind of that too. So it was a little more complex in my situation.
Onyx?
Yeah, you know, I feel powerful, very powerful. You know, no pressure, less pressure, a lot less pressure. When I step out of the door, there's no pressure to perform because I am just who I am. You know, what you see is pretty much what you're going to get. You know, sometimes I'm loud, sometimes I'm rude, sometimes I cry, you know, but there's no pressure anymore. I made my decision long ago who I was and how I was going to navigate this world. And, you know, it changes. There's, you know, and there's nothing wrong with change. To say that it wouldn't change would be foolish. But you know, I do stay kind of true to my belief pattern, and I feel powerful every day I step out of the house. But you know, I don't step out of the house that much. I still feel powerful every day, though. So I'm good in my power.
As you should.
Thank you.
As you should. As you should. So that goes right into the next section of the narrative for today's discussion. Do we all know who Michael Kalin is? Okay, well, Michael Kalin was an AIDS activist in the 80s. He passed away in 93 from pneumoplastosis related from AIDS complications, because he was diagnosed with AIDS in 82, and he was a New York City activist that is strongly well known. He had relationships with Joseph Sonnabend and Richard Berkowitz, who are both also very well known in those scopes. And his whole shtick was around a book that he wrote called "How to Have Sex in an Epidemic: One Approach." He also wrote a documentary called "The Denver Principles," but that was all surrounding surviving HIV and AIDS in the 80s, which was a really huge problem. And so he says, I wrote How to Have Sex in an Epidemic in 83 because the government had decided that our deaths were acceptable losses. we didn't wait for them to change their minds. We made the document ourselves, and we handed it out at street corners. And that's what survival looks like when the institution has abandoned you. You become the infrastructure that the institution despises. And so that's not comfort. That's not hope. It is defiance, however. I mean, basically, Kalin was writing about harm reduction while the Reagan administration at the time wouldn't say the word AIDS or even talk about it or even try to solve that problem. And so he made a documentary that he handed out to people at random on the street. If you're gay, if you're queer, and you're having queer, even risky gay and queer sex, read this. It'll protect you. And so, I need to say this plainly about acceptable losses, because acceptable losses is not acceptable. I think we sometimes let ourselves not say it plainly. As a trans person, and specifically to Black and Indigenous trans persons, are being killed, and the current administration has demonstrated a zero functional interest in that fact. Trans suicide rates are higher than they've ever been because of all of the things that are happening. The rollback of trans healthcare protections, the gutting of civil rights enforcement, the elimination of gender-affirming care for minors. These are not culture war abstractions. It's actually happening. These are policy decisions that produce mortality and increase the mortality of an entire strata of people. Whether we're 1% of the US population or not, that's a statistic. And so in Kalin's mind, he said, we didn't wait for them to change their minds. And I want to push on that because the temptation, the mother, I'm a druid, the mother above, the mother of the earth, I feel it myself, is to keep waiting. And you keep waiting for the politics to shift. I keep waiting for the pendulum to swing in the other direction. I keep waiting for someone in power to look at a spreadsheet and give a fuck. And Kalin is saying, from back in 1983, honey, they have already told you what you are to them. Stop waiting for a different answer because you're not going to get it. You're just not going to get it. And so then I ask, do you feel the weight of Kalin's phrase, acceptable losses, in your body right now? Not intellectually, emotionally. And what does it make you want to do? For me, recognition is not the same as resignation. And I need that. Feeling the weight of being classified as acceptable is not despair. It's informative. It's the moment when I stop waiting for the institution to protect me and start asking, what can I do? What can I build? Where can I build it? Can I build servers in Helsinki like this server so that when the administration rules that I'm a dissident and they want all of my data, are they going to get it? Fuck you. No, you're not. It's all living in a European country that doesn't give a shit about a U.S. extradition policy. But who needs the document that I already know how to write? That's why we do this every Monday and Friday. That's why we do Jackbox games on Wednesday night, which we did on Wednesday night, and it was really fun. I'm never playing Fibbage with Astrid ever again because she's way better at that game than I am. But at its core, Kalen didn't sit with that grief of being abandoned and call it conclusion. He sat with it long enough to get pissed off and angry about it, and then do something in a productive direction. He made the thing that he built his body of work, and then he sat on street corners and handed it out to people. And so I'll re-ask the question to Onyx. Do you feel the weight of that statement, acceptable losses, and what does it make you want to do?
Acceptable losses. When I hear acceptable losses, I think, I don't know why I think military. That's what I think. No man left behind. Within our community, that's what I think. No person left behind. We have to, just like this person you're talking about. I don't remember the guy's name or the person's name, but we have to find a way to take care of our own. That starts first of all filling ourselves, so that we can then fill other people. But yeah, it's something I struggle with in terms of my own. Like, do I need to stay or do I need to go? What is acceptable day to day? Is my life necessary in this plane? And then I'm like, yeah, today is a good day, so I'm going to fight another day, and I'm going to fight for my fellow trans people, and my fellow queer people, and my fellow Black people, and my fellow women. I'm gonna fight for everybody who needs help. When I think of acceptable losses, I think no, there are none. Everybody comes along. There are no acceptable losses, with the exception of I won't even say that. There are no acceptable losses. Period.
I'll go next. Wow. No, your answer was great, Alex Rose. When I hear the word acceptable losses, I get a little angry, honestly. Like, it lights a fire in me, and especially that quote coming from a time when the AIDS epidemic was killing the droves of our people, and just looking at that as a statistic, and the people in power saying, well, we can lose these people, that nobody's going to care about that. That made me want to fight the system, fight all the institutions that caused people to think that way. And I think it lights a fire under me, and it drives me to want to do more. It drives me to want to change the way things are. I think right now, I'm disabled. I can't do much on the ground, like boots on the ground kind of thing. But I do try, like, in the social media that I still have, attempt to reach out to people and galvanize the community, and basically try to building community. That's the big thing. Building a community of the people that I need to fight against the system. So yeah, allies included, obviously, but yeah. All right.
Oh, no, nothing to apologize for. Kira?
What's the question?
The weight of Kalen's phrase, acceptable losses. Basically, how does that make you feel?
Well, like others have mentioned, I don't believe there should be any acceptable losses. It is pretty much, it's inhumane to call it acceptable losses.
Right.
There are no acceptable losses. And the sad thing is usually when we're talking about acceptable losses, it's because we're talking about the government. That's when that term comes in. It's what is the government feels is acceptable. It's like accepting risk for something. You know something's bad. Are you going to fix it, or are you going to accept the risk? That's what a lot of companies face, and because I work in computer security, that's what we face. Are we going to accept the risk of having this unpatched server, or are we going to try to fix it? With the government, it's acceptable losses. And it's human life. It's not about losing a few bucks here and there. It's a matter of human life. And the sad thing is when they're talking about accepting losses, is because they're looking at trying to save money. Healthcare, SNAP benefits, whatever. They view that cutting back on those things and saving that money is more important than actually helping the people. And that is unacceptable.
Miranda.
I mean, I agree with everyone. There's no acceptable losses. I think there's this idea in our society that of a hierarchy, and that determines how much somebody matters. And so, you know, of course, Black people, Indigenous people, queer people are really low on the hierarchy. So it's easy for people to say that we're acceptable losses and not feel that. But, you know, whenever you're on the other side of it, that definitely it hurts to be thought of as an acceptable loss or not mattering.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment. Sarah.
I think overall the idea of acceptable losses ends up attributing more or less value to an individual life. And in that sense, I agree with everyone in terms of there's no acceptable losses. Now, in my personal life, when it comes to losing contact with certain family members, I'd consider those particular people acceptable losses to lose contact with. But that's as far as that goes.
But you're doing that for your mental health.
Yeah.
Right, and that's just losing. That's losing a relationship versus like not wanting them to live or to live fully.
Right.
No, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but there's one very acceptable loss that I can tolerate.
I think we all know what that is, and we all are in
Right.
agreement on that.
Right.
And I think everybody would benefit from that acceptable loss.
I'd take more than one acceptable loss in this administration. I'm just saying. There are many dangerous people in that administration, and it's not just him.
Well, there's a lot of queer people who are walking around with relatively safe context. I should say safe-ish, because I know nothing is fully safe. But comparatively, you know, that still turns the volume down. You know, but you're still editing the pronoun in the sentence. You know, sometimes I wear an ambiguous outfit, depending on where I am from a locale perspective. When I go up to Swanee, Georgia, I tend to wear leggings and boots and a somewhat reasonably gender ambiguous blouse because I don't want shit from people. Because I know that end of town is going to involve judgment. But the habit of waiting for permission, that became so automatic that I stopped knowing I was doing it. That's the thing that Caitlin is talking about. Caitlin had something to tell everybody back in the 80s, just like I'm telling everybody now. Don't be quiet. Asado Saint. Miranda, do you know who Asado Saint is? Oh, okay. Well, Asado Saint was a poet from the 80s and early 90s, and like Kaylin, he was an AIDS activist, and his poetic works, "Spells of a Voodoo Doll," were published in '96, 2 years after his death. And so he says, "I refuse to be a casualty that gets filed quietly away. I'm a black man, and I am a gay man, and I am a poet, and I intend to be all of those things loudly and simultaneously until there is no more time. Hunger is not a weakness. Hunger is the proof that you're still living." And so that was published in 96. He died in 94. The preface was published posthumously. And sit with that for a second. That guy wrote that. I refuse to be filed quietly, knowing that the filing was coming because he was dying. And knowing that the archive would outlast him if he wrote it the right way, he expressed it the right way. He was 36 years old, and he built it. And here we are in 2026, reading his refusal to just be filed away into nothing. I've said this before. I hope like 200 years from now, somebody unearths like all of our shit, like all of Miranda's poems, and all of the shit I wrote, and all of the poems that Kira wrote, and all of the poems that Sarah wrote, and go, wow, that's awe-inspiring. What were they really going through at that time? I don't want people to read my shit now. I want people to read my shit 200 years from now. Or even Onyx or Sturge. Forgive me for not.
Even Onyx. She writes great poetry.
She does, actually. But a casualty that gets filed quietly, that's painful. That phrase is doing so much precise, brutal work that I don't want to rush past it. Because as a trans person, I know all about what being quietly filed away feels like from a social perspective. I mean, we know it in the death certificate with a dead name. We know it in the misgendering obituary. We know it in the police report that categorizes a murdered trans woman as a man. This happens. It totally happens this way. We know it in the statistic that doesn't break out trans people as a category so that violence stays invisible in the aggregate. The system files us wrong, and they do it on purpose. And it does it quietly, because quiet is how you make something disappear without causing problems. But I want to push it further, because Saint isn't the only person talking about the little death that we all end up experiencing. He's talking about the quieting that happens while we're still living, while we're still here, while we're still breathing. And every time a form has no category for a person's body, every time my legal name doesn't match my real name, and I let it pass because the correction is too expensive that day. I have a C-level, a CIO, chief information officer, who in meetings misgenders me, does it every time, and then the meeting's over, and then like 20 minutes later, he comes by my desk and he's like, hey, I'm sorry that I did that. I just want you to know I'm sorry that I did that, and I'm trying not to do it. And the whole reason that he does that is because someone told him, you misgendered her, and that wasn't cool. But he's a sea level. Nobody can touch him. So it pisses me off when he does it. But it's something I expect from him. And so, but more so that issue. So every time a doctor misgenders you and you decide it's not worth the fight, every single one of those is a quiet filing, small bureaucratic erasure. And what Saint is saying in their writing is, I refuse to do that. Not once, as a posture, as a daily practice, as a thing you do before you get out of bed. And so that begs the question, where are you being filed incorrectly? Is it in the system? Is it in your relationship? Is it in your family situation? Is it in the workplace? And what would it cost you to correct it? So from my perspective, so I have a C-level executive who misgenders me nearly every day. Kira has to listen to me bitch about it constantly. So does Sarah, for that matter. Calvin. Like, there's two names in my life that are really bad. Calvin and John. John is for an entirely different set of reasons that are not queer related in any way, despite the fact that John is from Tennessee, and it could be, but he actually weirdly does not misgender me. But my issues with John are entirely separate. But here's what I've noticed is that we often carry the cost of calculation around like it's still accurate when it hasn't really been updated in years. The family situation that felt dangerous years before is still that way. The workplace that felt impossible to be out in has changed personnel twice, but you still feel that danger. But Saint's refusal is not a one-time declaration. It's a commitment to keep checking. Is the filing wrong? Fuck yes, it is. Am I going to correct it? Fuck yes, I'm going to correct it if I have the goddamn energy to do it. Because some days I don't. But sometimes the answer is still just, it's too much and not yet. And I need to protect myself. And that's a legitimate feeling. But sometimes the answer is the cost is an old story that I'm still telling myself. And Saint from the grave from over 30 years ago is telling me, Wendy, quit fucking doing that. And so, Sarah, that's the question. Where are you currently being filed incorrectly and why? See, now you guys wonder why I write her as the stoic in the bar stories, because she does that shit. Listen, I sit on video calls with her every day, and there are random times that very thing happens for like 4 minutes before she says anything.
I don't know that there's any place specific that I can think of that I'm being filed incorrectly. That nothing springs to mind.
Your relationship, and I don't mean the one that you're currently in.
I guess you'll have to clarify, because I don't really give it enough thought for it to even register as being filed incorrectly.
You don't think he's filing you incorrectly?
It probably is, but do I care?
Why don't you care?
Because I've written all of that off. because
That's
I
the very
realized
essence. That's the very essence of what Asano's saying to say. You probably are being filed incorrectly, but do you give a shit?
no.
Sturge?
Well, I have a similar sentiment to Sarah, but it's more because I recently came out as non-binary, but I still use he, him pronouns with they, them. So if somebody says he or him, it doesn't misfile me. And I think the only time that I really get misfiled is when somebody just assumes that I'm a cis male. I think it bothers me just a little bit, but not as much as I thought it would. I don't know. It's that I have so many different labels that I ascribe to myself that I don't like to necessarily have to tell people in a conversation because it's just me. And I feel like if I have to go into detail about it, if they're genuinely interested, sure, I'll go ahead. But I basically don't, especially for people I barely know. I don't want to have that whole conversation with them and explain all the classifications that they may misfile me in. Like, assuming, like people who assumed that I was a cis gay male at first, in fact, found out that I was a pansexual, non-binary queer person, and so many other labels that, like I said, that would be its own show. But I don't know. Like sometimes it just doesn't get to me, and sometimes it just bothers me just a little bit. It just depends on the day.
Well, I can't bug Kira because Kira had to leave for an appointment. So, Onyx. You're talking in the mute, by the way.
Yes, I was. Okay, what I was saying was something you said, the tiny paper cuts, tiny paper cuts, tiny paper cuts. Every time you shrink, it's tiny paper cuts, and it gets a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper. And then it's like ingrained in people, So with that being said, my name is actually Onyx Rose, not Onyx, and that is a paper cut that was, a tiny little paper cut. It was a little thing that started, and then it spread. And everybody was like, Onyx, Onyx, Onyx. And I was like, how did this happen? But then I let everybody keep on calling me Onyx. And I started trying to tell people slowly that it's Onyx Rose. But somehow it's not picking up. But yeah, so, that's a little tiny paper cut, a little file part that, probably I should have started earlier, like from the very jump, and just said, hey, people, But yeah, there it is.
Humans have, for some reason, and I'm one of those people, have a need to abbreviate things, not out of spite and not out of intent, but simplicity. That's the whole nickname thing. That's why the whole nickname thing exists. In the Druidry, we do it constantly. That's a religious thing. Because if I had to say Mirabilis, Alanevis, Anio, Officius, plant-like substance, it's a fucking flower.
Right.
It's a fucking flower. Miranda? You're talking in the mute. None of us can hear you. I could try to unmute you. I
don't know what it was. It was not responding to the keyboard shortcut for unmuting. Sorry. So what It's misfiling. I don't know. I think people are always going to misfile us, and the important thing is to file ourselves correctly. And the certainty that you know who you are is what will hopefully help broaden the perspectives of people who have a more limited filing system.
I can certainly agree with that statement. I have just a short conclusion, and then we can file away ourselves quietly the way we want to be filed away quietly, versus what society will do for us. So, Sturge, the way that works is you make your closing statements, and then you leave the call, and then I have final words, and then the live session is over, because I actively try to allow everyone to speak. And so from the overall narrative perspective, so Hay named us before we even had a name, and Kalen built infrastructure while the government was busy deciding that we were acceptable losses or not. And Saint wrote about the refusal into an archive that he knew he would never live to see read. So 3 people, 3 different moments of the same sustained energy. And that energy is saying, you don't wait for permission from people who have already told you what you are to them, and what you are to them is nothing. And here we are, trans, queer, non-binary, gay, lesbian, asexual, pansexual. I'll be here for an hour having to riddle off all of the orientations that exist. I'm certainly guilty of at least 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, you just did by erasure by not saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was about to mention something, but I didn't know if I should say anything.
Oh no! Please.
No by erasure. I'm kidding. I know.
No by erasure.
I know you didn't do that intentionally.
I mean, I've seen the movie Bros, and I love that movie.
Oh yeah, me too. I have it.
Yeah, the Bros, and here's the thing, is somebody that I know is in that movie.
Somebody from Substack?
No, I like a person who lives in Atlanta that I know personally.
There's a person on Substack who writes on Substack that was in that movie.
Madison is her name. Madison T.S. She lives down in Fayetteville, but when I was a regular Mary's in East Atlanta participant a few number of years back, she was a regular
Hamburger
person.
Mary's?
Huh?
Hamburger Mary's?
No, Mary's is a queer bar in East Atlanta, in the East Village of Atlanta. Oh
yeah, well there's this national chain, I think it spanned across a few states. It was called Hamburger Mary's. It was a restaurant, and I had one in my hometown of Sacramento, and there was also one in Chicago. So I lived in both cities, and I saw that.
Madison Hinton has been a fixture in the trans queer Atlanta community. Now, I will say that she's an AWN performer and Navian performer, so that means she's an adult film actress, and her adult film actress name is Big Dick Bitch. But
I
I
gotta watch-
see,
I
like,
gotta watch
if you
some
ever
of
get
this
around,
stuff.
you ever get around her, she's completely the most hysterical person to be around. I promise.
I gotta watch this now.
Yeah, she's a complete gas.
Oh.
But here we are, trans, queer, gay, lesbian, whatever. Still here, still hungry, still breathing, still showing up on a Friday while all 5 or 6 of us are talking. You know, that's not a small thing. That is, in fact, the entirety of the argument. The living, stubborn, unreliable fact of Sturge, Sarah, Miranda, Onyx Rose, Kira, Kirsten Avery showing up. Maybe Isabella will show up eventually. You know, but they're betting on our exhaustion. They're betting on the slow erosion of our ability to sustain. And on the day that you finally decide that hunger is the problem, they hope you fall apart. But what I want to tell each of you, what I would tell Karen if she were here, is that you are not a variation. You are not an acceptable loss. You are not a casualty that gets filed away quietly. All of you, each one of you, are a distinct person with your own history, your own gifts, and a Friday afternoon that still belongs to all of you. And that's how it should be. Sarah, do you want to start with closing?
I don't really have anything to add in closing.
Well, since one of your 2 partners have left the room, so.
I'm just gonna leave the call for now. Really have nothing to add.
Sarah's like Irish goodbye. It just
My consciousness is being divided between this and work, so. And then my sister's
God,
trying
you're
to call
actually
me.
working? I mean, I'm supposed to be working, but I don't think it's happening. Thank you, Sarah. As always, I appreciate your input.
Bye, Sarah.
Thank you for having me on. Bye.
Bye.
Miranda.
Yeah, so what you were just saying about them trying to wear us down, I think is where I'm going to riff off of that for my closing statement and just say that, like, they're actively trying to do that. And the most powerful thing you can do is to refuse their terms. If they want to get rid of me and file me away improperly, they're going to have to do it with their own hands.
Yes. 100%.
Bye, y'all. Love you.
Bye.
Bye, Miranda.
Bye, Miranda.
Sturge.
Sure. I mean, what to say? What to add to your profound closing here?
Sturge.
I knocked out my microphone.
Okay.
Oh my god, that was wild. right at the moment I needed to close. Well, I guess that might have been a fun close just to let the microphone thing fade me to black. But it was an honor being here today. I loved getting to discuss all these topics today. And I don't know, I mean, I feel like we should just continue fighting the good fight and continue to fight to change the minds and the hearts of the people in society and make them understand that we do deserve to exist and that we do deserve dignity and respect and love. That's all I have to say. Bye, Wendy. Bye, Onyx. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm looking forward to
Bye,
this
Sturge.
again.
I'll talk to you later, Sturge.
All right.
Okay. Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you too. Bye.
Oh, hello. So, damn, Sturge said something, and I wanted to say something about it, but yeah, we are, we are at a point where it's basically we are all we have. They're definitely gunning for us, and like Miranda said, if they are coming for me, let them come for me. They're going to have to take me down with their own hands. I stand 10 toes down for me, my family, my chosen family, the wider queer community, the queer and Black intersectional community, Black people who don't hate queer people. Black people who don't hate queer Black people. My mission is simple: is to start small, maybe organize. I feel like I'm moving into an organizational and activist state right now. So that's what I want to do. But let me go ahead and do my closing. No trash. Thank you. And no transphobia, no racism, no ableism, no sexism, no homophobia, no xenophobia, no Islamophobia, land back, reparations, no borders, fuck ICE, and fuck Trump. Wendy, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Wow. I don't know how to close against that or not. I guess what I would say is that thank you, everybody that came and watched today. And thank you for participating. Onyx Rose and Sarah and Kira and Sturge and Miranda, all of which with whom none of what we've been doing would be possible. And so for that, I am legitimately thankful. To everyone else, I love you all. Please keep coming back. I can't do this without my co-hosts. I can't do this without you guys. We can't do this without each other. Do good things. Seek out the good in people. And while you're at it, the weekend's rolling around. Go out and do something completely badass. Whatever the fuck that is. Do that. Because that's something that we should all strive for. And so with that, I will tell all of you, I love you. Be safe. If you're not in a safe space, get into a safe space. If you're not in a safe space and you can't, reach out to one of us. We can do things. I love you all, and good afternoon.